in studio is Dr. Emmanuel Navon, international relations expert. Dr. Navon, thank you for joining me this morning. Dr. Navon, a lot is being said about these two leaders, a meeting, a lot of maybe optimism in the air. First of all, do you share that sense of optimism about these two leaders meeting?
Look, first of all, the fact that their meeting is unprecedented. It's the first time that we have a meeting between a U.S. president and a North Korean leader. It's never happened before. So there is a hope that maybe something will happen. Also, don't forget that it can't get any worse than what it's been for the past 50 years. In other words, all U.S. presidents since Bill Clinton have failed in preventing North Korea from obtaining nuclear weapons. So it's not that Trump has been preceded by successes or something. His predecessors have all failed, and North Korea today does have nuclear weapons. And so if Trump is able really to change the situation and convince Kim Jong-un to at least partially give away his nuclear weapons, that in itself will be a major achievement.
But there are, of course, serious risks. North Korea, for lack of a better word, has not been reliable in agreements. It shuns UN resolutions about its nuclear programs. There is a risk that maybe if an agreement is reached and North Korea doesn't really uphold its commitment, this could put China and South Korea, among other nations, at a point of serious vulnerability.
So that's true. You're right that North Korea has a record of breaking previous agreements, especially with the Clinton administration, and basically running away with the money. But on the other hand, don't forget that Trump is coming to this meeting after pulling the U.S. out of the deal with Iran, and therefore he's sending a very clear message. I am not a sucker. In other words, I didn't like the deal with the Iranians. You're not going to get this kind of deal. So he's coming with a very clear message to the North Korean dictator. And I think that also Kim Jong-un knows that Trump is really not the kind of person with whom you can break an agreement. As a matter of fact, so far he's kept all his campaign commitments to the American people. And I think that Kim Jong-un realizes who he's dealing with. And I think he himself has an interest in trying to, at least partially, undo all the sanctions on North Korea, which is why he's coming to this meeting in the first place.
And in fact, Dr. Navon, Trump has reiterated that message again and again, even yesterday, saying if the meeting doesn't go well within the first minute, he'll just walk away. In that scenario where Trump walks away after a few minutes, what happens next? Do they meet again? Does that open the door for North Korea maybe to discuss the same international agreement maybe with other world powers?
Well, first of all, I think psychologically it's the right strategy, because if you go to a negotiation saying, I'm desperate for a deal, I'll do whatever it takes to sign an agreement, then you show weakness and desperation. So if up front you're saying, if it doesn't work, I'll just walk out, it's fine with me, and knowing that Trump seems to be serious when he threatens to use devastating sanctions against North Korea and even using military force, psychologically it's probably the right tactic to negotiate with Kim Jong-un. So I think for the North Korean dictator to know that the American president might just walk out after a minute if he sees that there's no point negotiating, as I said, psychologically it might be the right thing to do. And then, of course, we'll find out, after the meeting what happens.
And both Kim and Trump have already met with the Singaporean Prime Minister. If I'm not mistaken, both leaders, Trump now and the Singaporean Prime Minister, are already headed back to their hotels. What influence does that meeting have, if at all, on the rest of these negotiations and that high-stakes summit with Kim?
Well, I think the fact that they first of all meeting in Singapore and with they both met with the Prime Minister of Singapore, as you mentioned, there's a meaning and a symbol to the place where those negotiations are taking place. Singapore is a success story, and I think that an economic success story at least, and I think the message that Trump is trying to send to Kim also is like, look where you could be today, look where all the Asian tigers are, and look where you are. So there's a potential for you to change the course of your country, and America can help.
Well, certainly we'll see tomorrow if Kim received that message and how it will turn out. Dr. Emmanuel Navon, thank you very much for joining me to shed light on this. And now to another meeting between two leaders, entirely different though.